Okay, I think it's time to start. So yeah, let's start. So I guess there will be some more people coming after, but anyway, I'm going to do the whole recording. I mean the whole webinar because the recording is useful, so people can watch the webinar later. Okay, so today we're starting a new series of webinars where in which I'm going to explain how to master Codoozer. Okay, so after all these classes, you will be able to create advanced software without programming. Okay, so well, today it's going to be a bit theoretical. Um, I mean, the rest of the lessons will be more practical, but today I want you to learn some basic concepts that are maybe are a bit difficult for someone, but they will be very useful to understand how Codozer works. Okay, so yeah, let's start with a small presentation, and then after this presentation, I will start showing the interface, how Codozer works, and everything. Okay, so yeah, the idea, I mean, you know that Codoozer is a brand new tool. I mean, we released the first version last May. During this time, we've been on beta version or beta stage. Okay, we're still on beta stage, but it's a fully functional beta. Okay, so now you can create very advanced apps for Android, but and they work perfectly. But the thing is that we still call it beta stage because we are still developing the iOS compatibility. And it should be available very soon. In fact, some apps can be already be built with for iOS. Okay, and next month, I guess everything will be ready so that you can also create apps for iOS. Okay, but that's not the thing with Codoozer. So what we really want to achieve with Codoozer is not only one app builder that lets you create Android and iOS apps, but we really want to create one of the best, or probably the best tool in the world for making software without programming. Okay, so not only mobile apps but also websites, desktop applications, backend scripts, and some other things. Okay, so everything in one platform. So what's Codoozer? So it's not an app builder. That's very important. I mean, maybe some of you know that. I mean, some app builders like MovingCube, Business Apps, and App Machine, and some others. So basically, those are drag and drop app builders. They offer some templates and some modules, and you can combine them or customize them, and then you have your app. I mean, they are very easy to use, but the thing is that they are quite limited. I mean, if you want to create a real app like Uber, like these big apps, it's impossible to create those with an app builder, with a drag and drop app builder. Okay, so Codoozer is not one of them. So we're not based on templates or nor, neither modules or I mean, we offer a real functionality, so you can really combine functionalities and create your apps. So Codoozer is more like a source code generator. Okay, normally on those app builders, you generate your app, you customize it, and then they provide the APK file, things like that. But with Codoozer, what you are really generating is source code. Okay, well, after that, we will also provide the final app. So we will generate the app from that source code. Okay, but it's important to know that in the future, if you want to take the source code of your app, Codoozer will let you to do it. Okay, so yeah, and who is Codoozer for? So as I was saying, Codoozer is not like an app builder. I mean, it's not meant for people who doesn't really have any knowledge. So if you're starting creating apps, maybe it's easier to start with a drag and drop app builder. But Codoozer is more, I like to say that Codoozer is like the Thermomix for software. Because, I mean, it's meant to be for non-developers to create professional software, but also developers love Codoozer. Okay, because imagine a web developer who has never developed mobile apps. Codoozer will be very helpful for him because it's going to be very easy for him, and then it will save a lot of time for the developer. Okay, because with Codoozer you can create real software the same way developers do. Okay, but the thing is that with Codoozer, I mean, Codoozer is a bit more technical software in comparison with app builders, with drag and drop builders. I mean, it's more technical. It requires some learning. I mean, you should attend these lessons. But at the end, it's like programming without programming. So you really have to think like a programmer does, but you don't program at all. Okay, we use our own interface and our own assistant, so you don't really need to program, but you are going to be able to create software with the same quality as programmers do. Okay, so yeah, so as I said, I'm going to give you some small concepts. Okay, I don't want to make this very long. It will be short, but you need to learn these concepts. Okay, because they are the basics that will let you understand how Codoozer works. Okay, so first, let me start with the app structure. Okay, so if you want to create, well, I said that you will be able to create other types of software, not only apps. Okay, but nowadays you can create apps for Android. Next month for iOS. Okay, so now I'm going to focus on how to create apps. Okay, so basically an app structure is like what you see on the screen. Okay, so starting from left to the right, we have the app. Okay, I mean, you see these big blocks. So the app is like the main block, is what you want to achieve. So if you see next to the right, you see the wrappers. Okay, so this means that an app is made of wrappers. Okay, so one app can have one wrapper or it can have more than one wrapper. Okay, so the wrappers are like the zones or the sections of your app. So imagine like some real app like WhatsApp. Okay, you when you open the app, you go to the main screen and you see some action bar on the top. You see some tabs, and there you have. I mean, you can move slide from left to the right, so you can see the chat list, the contact list, and things like that, right? So basically, you are always on the same screen. So it's like you are in a section of the screen. You are in the main section. Okay, so in Codoozer, that will be like a wrapper. Okay, so a wrapper has, it's like a container that has some features like the tab bar, the action bar, or the side menu, things like that. So that's a wrapper. Okay, and then in WhatsApp, when you click on a chat, you go to a different screen where you see the content of that chat. Okay, but the screen is different. You don't have the tabs anymore, things like that. So you are going to a different section. So okay, so in Codoozer, that would be like a different wrapper. Okay, so the app is based on wrappers, on sections. Okay, and each wrapper can have a view. So, or it can have also several views. So basically a view is where you design your user interface. Okay, so imagine again in WhatsApp, when you are watching the chat list, I mean, you have the wrapper, which is the main wrapper, the main screen. And then if you in the center tab, you have the chat list. So the content of that chat list, it would be a view on Codoozer. Okay, so basically a Codoozer is a view is where you put all the content, right? So if you have a wrapper that has tabs, then it will have different views. So it can have one, two, three, four. I mean, whatever. I mean the tabs you want. Okay, so then if we focus on a view, then each view is made of components. Okay, so one view can have one component or it can have more than one component. So the components are the units that handle the content. Okay, so one component can be, I mean, there are different types of components. And we have the image component, we have text component, input text. We have like 15 or 20, I don't remember. But those are the ones that are in charge of controlling the content and also the user interface. Okay, there are some components can that let the user communicate with the app. For example, a text input or a selector or a barcode scanner, things like that. I mean, they control the user interaction as well. Okay, so And the thing is that an image component is not an image. I mean, the component is the one that controls the image, but then the image is stored in a file. Okay, so also the component is the one in charge of taking a file and put it on the screen. Okay, so I mean, then we will talk about this later, but this is the basic app structure. Okay, then how do you develop or how do you create your apps or your projects with Codoozer? Okay, so basically, instead of a drag and drop thing, basically you have a bunch of files, and those files define your app. Okay, so you have some files for defining the app, like how the app should be, how many views it has, and things like that. And then you have some files for content, like images, audio files, things like that. You also can have certificates for signing your applications, or you can have like external files for example, for integrating Firebase or some other products. Okay, so yeah, and the files that define the application are basically text files. They are JSON files. I mean, I'm not sure, maybe you don't know what a JSON file is, but basically it's a plain text file that it has some structure. I mean, the information inside that text file is organized. Okay, but you can edit a JSON file normally with any notepad or any text software. Okay, but you don't really need to understand a lot about JSON files. Okay, you'll see. Okay, so yeah, as I was saying, making apps with Codoozer is like programming without programming. So what does that mean? So basically, is that you have to think like a programmer in terms of logic. Okay, so when you create apps, you have to think a little bit like in a way, the same way a programmer does. So, for example, if a user clicks on this button, then go to this screen. Okay, that's some logic, some programming logic. Okay, so basically that's a little bit of the way you have to think of when you are on Codoozer. Okay, so yeah, so then we have functions and then we have reference. So with combining functions and reference, then we can create a lot of logic and start thinking like a programmer, but again, without programming, you'll see. So let me define what a function is. This is very important as well because functions are um, the way you define the behavior of the app. So functions are actions, okay, that are played as a reaction of some user event or some app event. For example, if the user taps on some component, then you can define what the app should do, like go to a different screen or play a sound, save some information, things like that. Okay, so those are functions. So we have different types of events, like when a user taps on some component, when a new app or when the app is open, or when a new screen or a new view is loaded, or when a login function fails, things like that. Okay, so those are events, and we can define how the app should react to those events. Okay, and in order to do that, we just put a list of functions that should be done after that event happens. Okay, but don't worry if you don't understand this now. I mean, you will understand it, but I just wanted to give you some term definitions. Okay, because as I said, they are important. Then we have references. Okay, the references are also very important and they are very powerful. Okay, because references are, imagine like virtual boxes that are inside the app where you can put some information, okay, for in order to use it later. So for example, imagine that you want to store like the name of the user, or you want to store the age of the user, or any number or any text or anything. You could store that in a virtual box, and then maybe tomorrow if the user opens the app, then you can still have that information. Okay, or if you want to make calculations, things like that, you can store pieces of information and then combine them. Okay, so we have different types of references. We have properties, which are useful for storing data temporarily. Okay, so if we close the app, that data will be lost. Then we have cookies, and I guess you know what a cookie is, but cookies are references that keep information. So if you close the app and you open the app tomorrow, then the information will be still there. Okay, then we have the reference app, which will let you get some information from the device, like location, the time, things like that. Then we have the property element, which will let you access some properties of the components. Okay, or you can modify components in real time. So if you want to change the transparency of a text, you want to change the font size or the font of a text, you can use the element reference. Then you have databases, which will let you have a lot of information organized. So basically, a database is like a closet full of boxes, okay, or full of references. So you can have a lot of information. Then we have Firebase, which is a set of tools provided by Google. It's provided for developers. Normally, Firebase is like a backend. I mean, if you want to create real apps, then you will need a backend, because big apps like Uber or WhatsApp, they are not only one app. I mean, there's a server or a lot of servers that handle all the information. That's called a backend. So normally when you want to create one powerful app, you will need a backend. But since Codoozer is for non-developers, Firebase is also for non-developers. Well, in fact, it's for front-end developers, like app developers or website developers who don't really know how to develop a backend. Okay, so but if you combine Codoozer and Firebase, then you can be a full-stack developer without developing, right? So yeah, and Firebase has databases, has authentication managers, have storage managers. I mean, they have a lot of tools that are very helpful. Then we have other references, but let's not talk about them today. Okay, so for finishing this theory part of the webinar, okay, let me give you just one example, okay, of what I was saying about the references. Imagine this app where we are asking today the name of the user. So the user can use a component, an input text component. He can enter the name. Then we can store that name inside a cookie reference, like at cookie.name. So tomorrow, when the user opens the app, we can still remember the name that the user entered, because we can get the information from the cookie and put it on the screen. Okay, this is a small example of how it can be used. Okay, so okay, let's go to Codoozer and let's talk about how the interface works. Okay, today we're not going to develop an app or anything. I just want to explain how the interface works. Okay, so well, you can create an account for free. Maybe I should talk a little bit about the pricing. You can you can start for free. You can test Codoozer for free and start doing your apps. And even in the future, if you create apps for yourself or for a small audience, you will be able to create apps for free. Okay, but then if you are going to publish those apps for the public, then you will need, I mean, our pricing model is based on like digital coins. We call them Dojo coins. So basically you will need one Dojo coin per month for having one app active. For an Android app, you will need one Dojo coin. For an iOS app, you will need another Dojo coin. Okay, so basically our subscription will be very simple. There will be some different subscriptions. So the more you pay every month, the more Toyocon we will charge into your account. I mean, we will put into your account. Okay, so you will have a balance, like a digital wallet of your Dojo coins. Okay, so you can put more Dojo coin into your account and then only spend according to the apps that you have published. Okay, so I mean, if you have some Dojo coin left in your wallet, you can use it next month. Okay, so well, now I mean, you have more information here. If you go to the initial coin offering, okay, you will have more information about the pricing. Okay, it's very simple, to be honest. Okay, here you have some information. Okay, now we are in like offering our Dojo coin super cheap, like $2 each. Okay, and in the future they will be like $12. Okay, so you can buy now as many Toyocon as you want and use it in the future. Okay, so you're going to save like 90% of the price. It's a really great opportunity, you'll see. Okay, so well, after you create an account, let me close this. Okay, you will reach this super wide interface. Okay, and I know the first time you sign up it can be a bit scary, because you will feel that you are lost at some point and you won't really know how to start. Okay, so today I'm going to explain how this works so you realize that it's super easy. Okay, I said that Codoozer is very technical. I mean, not very, but it's a technical tool if you compare with app builders. But if you take like especially the first three lessons, today's lesson, next week's lesson, and the week after's lesson, then you will realize that creating apps or creating advanced apps with Codoozer is super simple. Okay, so oh, by the way, I didn't tell you that Codoozer is part of Dojo. Okay, there's a brand name called Dojo. It's like DOYO, do your own. So that's like the umbrella brand for Codoozer, because the idea of Dojo is that we're trying to create like different tools for startups or for small companies. So you have all the tools you need for taking your ideas online. You have all those tools in one same place. Okay, so when you sign up on Codoozer, you are not signing up on Codoozer, you are signing up on Dojo. Okay, so you are creating a Dojo account. So in the future, as soon as we start launching new products, they will be also in your account. Okay, so you will be able to access from one point to all those products. Okay, in fact, we already have one product called Castot.io, which is like a small Dropbox. Okay, you can put all your files online on the cloud. Okay, we are like merging the accounts because when we developed Castot.io, we use a single user account management tool for that. Okay, so Dojo didn't exist at that point, but now that Dojo exists, we want to merge all the two products. Okay, so so let's start. Okay, so here you have a big white space that says drop here a cd set file to create a new project in Codoozer. Okay, this cdc or cdset file is like the file format that we use. Okay, because when you create apps with or software with Codoozer, you are always working locally in your computer. Okay, you are using Chrome or Safari or any other browser. Okay, well, I would recommend to use Chrome because I mean we normally develop everything for Chrome and then we start testing in other browsers. But and I mean normally Chrome is the first we develop for, so it will work, I guess, much better. Okay, so yeah, the thing is that you are going to work locally, and that will make your working process very fast. You'll see as soon as we start doing things, you'll see that Codoozer is super fast to work with. Okay, so the thing is that if you want to save changes, you should save it as a CDC format. So I will explain how to download the file. Okay, so and then tomorrow, if you want to keep working on your project, you can just upload the file and keep working. Okay, well, normally it will be stored in the internal database of the Chrome or the browser. Okay, but sometimes that database is corrupt. and it can break your project. Okay, that's why we always recommend to download the CDC file. Okay, and just I mean, keep a copy in your computer. Okay, just in case. So what do we have here? Well, first here on the left, you see this green bar. Okay, this is the Dojo bar. Okay, it's not only the Codoozer bar, but the Dojo bar. Okay, you see the two areas, one on the top and one on the bottom. Okay, so the area on the bottom is the Dojo part. Okay, here you have some icons. From here you can access your account, I mean your profile, you can set up your emails, your passwords. I mean, in the future, as soon as we have subscriptions, you will be able to manage them from here, things like that. Okay, then here you have the notifications. Okay, here you will see all the notifications of what you're doing. Okay, and well, you have this button in case you want to buy the Dojo coin. Okay, as I said, it's a great opportunity to invest in Dojo coin right now. Okay, and on the top side, we have some icons that are more specific for Codoozer. Okay, not Dojo, but Codoozer. Okay, if you're a user of Castor.io, I guess this bar is familiar to you already. Okay, so here we have the Codoozer logo so that you know that you are on Codoozer. Okay, we have this button to create a new project, and we have some other buttons. This one is for opening your projects in case you have some projects. Yeah, and I have some here. Okay, and because as I said, they are stored on the browser's database. Okay, so sometimes they last for months. Okay, but sometimes the browser has some bugs and the database is lost. So normally you will be able to have your projects here, but again, I would recommend to download the CDC file and put a copy of the project in your PC or your Mac. Okay, then we have two buttons here that are not enabled right now. I will explain them later. Okay, and then this white area is the work area. So here is the area where we are going basically to do all the work on Codoozer. So, well, now we don't have any app open. So, I mean, if you are new to Codoozer, you will see this. And from here, you can just drag and drop one CD file, or you can start a project from scratch. So if you click here, you see that now everything has changed. So, well, when you create a project from scratch, it's not empty. We put some content on the app, so you can have some minimal things, okay, to start with. But normally, after you get some experience, basically you will delete all of that. Okay, but I mean, but you have the basic structure of your project. Okay, so now we do not only have this white area, we also have now a new bar here, like a gray color bar. So here is where you can see all the files in your project. I said before that a project is made of files. Okay, so all these files are here. We have some folders. You see the ones with the arrow, they are folders. And then we have some files. Okay, so here basically is your whole project. Okay, so yeah, now I will explain it just in a second. Okay, and here on the right, the white area now is where we are going to edit the content of the file. Well, not always editing, but sometimes it's only for viewing. Okay, but basically here we will have the file that we have selected. Okay, you see that if I click on a different file, I will see different things in this area. Okay, so okay, let me explain these files, the basic structure of these files. Okay, so basically, because today I want to explain the dashboard and what these files mean and things like that. Okay, and then next week we will start like designing our user interface. So, well, here we have, you see that almost all of them are folders except for the last one that says app. Okay, so this is like probably the main file of your app. So if you click on it, here is where we have the main features of your app, or the main yeah, properties, or I mean, okay, so normally when you start creating the app or the project, you go to this file and you add some configuration. Okay, you see that basically all the files, you see this and this and this, you see that they all seem the same. Okay, this is the thing I told you, that basically you are editing text files and those files have some structure, but you don't really need to edit the text. I mean, the Codoozer dashboard will help you with the JSON format, because this is a JSON file. I mean, if you are a web developer, you already know what a JSON file is, but basically it's only text that is organized like with these brackets and curly brackets or regular brackets. Okay, and you see that everything here basically is a combination, it's a list of parameters. Like a parameter is like is set like a key. You see that there's a key like the name of the parameter, then you have the semicolon, and then you have a value. Okay, so basically this is how a JSON file is defined. So here you don't really have to worry about semicolons and things like that, or brackets or curly brackets, because we will do all of that for you, so you cannot make any mistake. Okay, but basically this is it. Okay, so name of the property, then value. Name of the property, semicolon, value. Okay, but the value can be also a JSON object. So for example, imagine this one where it says Android. You see the arrow, you can expand it. Okay, so the key is Android. Then we have the semicolon and the value. You see those curly brackets? The value means that it's a JSON object. So a JSON object is defined by these two curly brackets. Okay, and a JSON, what's a JSON object? So basically a JSON object is also a list of parameters. So it's like a group of parameters, and all of them have a key, semicolon, and a value. Key, semicolon, and value. So basically that's it. Okay, and when you are editing on Codoozer one object, sometimes you see this plus button. Okay, this means that you can add some more parameters. Like for example, here I'm editing the Android configuration. Okay, so I can have more parameters. So if I click here, then I will have a list of the parameters I can add. For example, if I want to use Google Maps, I can select this parameter and then enter my Google Maps key, for example. Basically, it's that simple. I mean, you don't really need to know the names of the parameters. So basically, you just click on plus button and you get the options. Okay, and then you write the value. It's super simple. Okay, so yeah, so in the app file, app.json file, you have the name of the app. This is the name that the users, after they install the app, is the name that they will see on their phones. Okay, so here you basically can put like my first app. Okay, and normally, I mean, the values can be different types. So normally when you are editing some value that is a text, like a label, something that you are going to see on the screen in the app, okay, like the title or the name. Normally when you edit text, you will see this plus button on the right side. Okay, this means that you can create this label in multi-language. So if you click on plus, then you see it has turned into a JSON object, the value. So you can expand it, and now you can add different languages. So I have my default language, which says my first app, but I can use like Spanish for mi primera app. Okay, so now I have the name of the app. Now it's multi-language. So if the users have the phone configured in Spanish language, they will see this title. But if they have any other language, they will see my first app. Okay, so normally you can do that for all the text labels. So what else? Then you have the project name. This is only for you, for identifying your project. Okay, you can change it. Well, in fact, I would recommend always to change it. Okay, because when you open your apps, then here you will see the project name. Okay, so it's always important. It's always important to have one name that is related with the app. Okay, then we have some parameters like the Android, which is for the Android configuration. From here, you can change the Android package name, which is a unique identifier when you publish on Google Play. Okay, so basically you put your domain like com.something.something else. Okay, then you have the version name. So if you are going to publish an app on Google Play, every time you submit an update, you will need to increase this number. Okay, but then you have some other parameters like yeah, Firebase, Maps API key, YouTube API key in case you want to integrate YouTube, things like that. Okay, so this is for Android. Then you have the colors palette. Okay, these are some default colors that you can use inside your app. Okay, they are like templates. So you see that some of them have this red arrow here on the right. This is for deleting a color. You can delete it, but the ones on the top can't be deleted because they are like the main colors of your app. Okay, so basically we have this color palette because when you are designing your app, you can put a text and you can select a color for that text. So you can use a value for that color in RGB, red, green, blue code, hexadecimal code. Okay, so you can have one single code for that text. We will see that. Okay, but the thing is that if you use specific codes for every single text in your app, then it's if tomorrow you want to change the look and the general style of your app, and you want to change colors from greens to blues, something like that. If you want to change that in every single text of your app, you can get crazy. Okay, so normally you use a color in the palette. So when creating a color, you can say that you want to use like primary color. Okay, so when you want to change the style of your app, it's easier to only come here to this color palette and change the colors. You can use different colors. Okay, so then you change the whole style in your app. Okay, you can add more. You see that you have this plus button. You can add your own colors here, like for alerts. And then here you can use like, well, you can start like putting FF, which is white. And then once Codoozer recognizes that this is a color, then you will have the color selector here. Then you can change it. Okay. What else? Then we have the events. Okay. And these events are the ones related with the app. So on the app level, we only have one event. We cannot add, you see this JSON, currently you cannot add any extra event. So we only have the on start event. So if you expand this, now you see that on start, this means that here we are going to define a list of functions that, it's the way we want the app to behave as soon as the user opens the app. So on the app start, we are going to do this. Okay, and now you see the different symbol. You see these brackets. This is not a JSON object as the one we saw before. When you see a regular bracket here, this means that we are going to have a list of JSON objects. So you see that inside these brackets, we have one JSON object defined in our default project. Okay, so this is a function. Now we have one JSON object. You see the curly brackets. Okay, inside we have like the key and the value, key value. It's always the same. Okay, but now this JSON object represents a function. Okay, and here you see this ghost object. It's like light gray with a plus button. This means that we can add a new object to the list. So if we click here, we are going to add a new function. Okay, so this is our function. Then when you select a function, you have to say which type of function it is. Okay, we are not going to talk about this. Well, let me talk. Let me give you just a super fast overview of the different actions you can take in your app. Okay, so you can abort, well, I'm not going to explain all of them. So basically abort is for, if you have a sequence of functions, with the abort function you can just stop that sequence. Okay, now that might not make a lot of sense right now, but it will make, you'll see. Then we have the add function, which is for adding content to a database. We have the address function, which is for like taking a GPS location and getting the address, or from one address taking the GPS location, or from one address get the zip code, things like that. I mean, the function address is for converting location data into location data, but with a different format. Okay, well, then we have the function back, which is for going to the previous view. We have the function browser, which is for opening the web browser outside the app. We have the calendar function, which is for asking the user for some date or for some time. Then we have the call function, which is for making phone calls. We have the camera function, which is for opening the camera and let the user take some picture, and then we will use that picture in the app. Then we have the delete, which is for deleting like some document in our database or for deleting some references. We have the divide function, which is for making a math division. We have the end function, which is for ending a job, but I don't want to explain what a job is. Okay, you will see another lesson. Then we have the file function, which is for letting the user pick a file from the phone, like an image or a document, something. We have the finish function, which is I'm not going to explain this right now. It's a bit more complicated, but basically it's for removing the current view from the navigation stack. Okay, but forget about it. Then we have one which is very important, which is the go to. This is for going to a different view. If we are in the main menu, we can go to the the chat screen, for example. Then we have increase, which is for adding numbers, like math calculation. We have the interstitial for showing a full screen advertisement. We have the listen, and this is also a bit advanced. This is for creating a new event that will listen to some reference. So if the reference changes its value, then we can react to that. Okay, but this is a bit advanced for today. Then we have the login function, which is for logging in the Firebase authentication tool. So in case we want to create one app with user accounts, things like that, we use the login function. Then we have the logout, which is the opposite. We have the loop. This is also this is for creating a sequence of functions and repeat it one after. Make a loop of functions. Okay, imagine that we want to play a sound every 60 seconds, then we can use a loop, so it repeats every 60 seconds. We have the multiply function for doing multiplication. We have the no operation, which is for nothing. Well, this is basically in case you want to reserve this spot here, but you don't want the app to do anything, so you use the nope. Then you have the open, which is for opening databases. We have the play, which is for playing a sound. We have the pop-up, which is for opening a white window on the top of the screen, okay, to provide an alert or to ask the user for some information, things like that. We have the function purchase, which is for having in-app purchases in the app in case we want to sell digital goods. We have the reduce, which is subtraction, okay, the math operation. We have refresh, which is for refreshing the current view. We have the reward, which is for showing a full screen advertisement, but a rewarded video advertisement. So we can I mean, it's a different format. I will explain that in when as soon as we start talking about monetization. Then we have the round operation, which is for, I mean, we have a number with decimals, we can round it. We have the set, and this is probably the most important function on Codoozer. Okay, the set does all the magic. So basically, the set is for setting the value of a reference. Okay, but I mean, I explained some of the reference that you can use. Okay, but sometimes, I mean, there are some other references. So if you want to move information from one point to another, you use the action set. So if you want to, for example, get the picture of the camera and put it on Firebase storage, you use the action set. I mean, what it does is it moves information from one point to another, but it's a quite intelligent function. So it handles the information and it knows that if the information is an image or if it's text or something, things like that. Okay, so it does a lot of intelligent things. So it's super powerful function. Then we have sign up for creating accounts, start for starting a job. Well, a job is basically functions that we want to perform on the background. Okay, so but we will come to that. Then we have stop, which is for stopping a sound, track, which is for tracking events on Google Analytics, upload, I think this one doesn't really work, and wait, which is for making a pause. So if you have a sequence of functions, you can put some pause between one function and the other one. For example, if you want to play a sound and then wait 10 seconds and then play another sound, you can use the function play, then wait 10 seconds and then the function play. Okay, so well, just forget about these functions. I mean, we will explain those with details in future lessons. Okay, but I just wanted to give you a quick overview of all the things you can make your app do. Okay, so there are a lot of different functions. We will keep adding more, but this is a super big list of functions. With these functions you can create a lot of things. Okay, so yeah, what else? For example, this only example, we have the function go to, and it says view main view. So when the app starts, we are telling the app to go to the view main view. If you go to views, you have this view here, and here we have defined our view. We will come to this in a second. Okay, then what else we have? You can click here and you have, from here you can define your databases. You can use also TTF fonts. Okay, so you can add your own fonts, but normally you don't add fonts like this. I mean, if you want to use some custom font, let me show you. I have this TTF file here. So basically you just drag and drop it here. Okay, and Codoozer does all the magic. Okay, so Codoozer recognizes that it's a TTF file. So it's added to the rest folder, which we put all the files, and it creates this folder called fonts, and it's added here. Okay, and it's also added now here. So if we want to use that font, let's say imagine this text, I will explain that later, but this is only an example. We can change, I mean, this object is this text. You see that in the visor on the right, you see that it's green. So if you change here, you see that now my font is here. Okay, it's super easy to use. I mean, we don't have to worry about where to add the font, things like that. If we click here, then we change the font. It's that easy. Okay. Then we have monetization. This is for if you want to monetize your app with ads, you can configure it here. Then if you are using in-app purchases, you can configure them here. And this version builder, I mean, this is a mistake. This shouldn't be here. Okay. Okay, so this is the app file. Okay, basically this is the main configuration of your app. But then we have some other folders here. And I should go from which order? Well, let me explain the rest folder first, okay? And then I will explain the others. So basically the rest folders, as I said, is the folder where we put all the files, all the images, I mean, MP3 files, video files, okay? You can, here basically you put the files, the content or the fonts, things like that, okay? So, well, here you can have some folders inside, but those folders are virtual. Okay, imagine. So basically, I mean, let me show you. If you want to drag, I mean, if you want to add images to your app, you can basically select your images. I have some icons here, and you can just drag and drop them anywhere on Codoozer. Okay, so they will be added right inside the rest folder. Okay, so now I have all my pictures here. Okay, and they are ready to be used. For example, if I go to this view, I want to change this icon. Basically for this image, I can change the file name and use this one, for example. Okay, that's easy. Okay, but what if you have a lot of files and you want to organize those files in folders? So instead of dragging and dropping the file here, you can create a folder like here. Click on the plus button to create a new resource. So this window will come up. So now you can drag and drop your files in this box. Okay, but you can also select a name of a folder. For example, if I want to use photos, you can just put the name of the folder. And now, let's see if I have some photos. For example, this one. So now I can drag and drop this image into the box. Since I have this photos folder name here, you see that now I have my folder. So this picture is inside the photos folder. But as I said, the folders are virtual, okay? But you cannot have an empty folder. So if you remove this picture, since the photos folder doesn't contain anything, then it's removed, okay? So yeah, and regarding resources, well, there's this folder that it's always here. This is the icon folder. This is where you put the icon of your app. Okay, so basically you only need one PNG file. So if you only have one PNG file here, it will be the icon of your app. Okay, but then you can also have some, let me show you. You can have different icons. So if you click here and then put like different icons, okay, they will be used, I mean, for different phone resolutions. Okay, so you can use the word icon underscore and the size of the icon, for example. Okay, so yeah, on Codoozer will be I think by default it's the icon 512, which will be the main icon of your app. Okay, but you can have different icons here. Where else? And then there's also a very important folder, which is the assets folder. I mean, if you create this folder called assets, ASSETS, and then you put here some picture. Okay, now this one is inside the assets folder. And this folder is also very important because there's a big difference of putting files here or here inside the assets folder. So the difference is that every single file that is stored inside the assets folder is going to be copied into your app. Okay, but the files here, they are only going to be copied into your app if they are used in the app. Okay, for example, here we have an image. No, not here, but here we have an image. Okay, so now in this image we have the file parameter, and in this parameter we are telling the component image which image file it should use. Okay, so now the icon finder word 6, I mean this file is being used inside a file parameter. So we are making sure that this file is going to be copied into our app. Okay, but all those other files, they are not used right now, so they won't be copied into our app. Okay, but sometimes we want to include those files in our app. Okay, because maybe we are not using them in a component now, but with the logic that we are going to add in our, I mean, sometimes we will talk about this, but we can link components to databases or to references. Okay, so we will be able to tell the component which image file to use through a database. Okay, so in that case, now we don't have any idea of which will be the image, because the content in the database can change. Okay, in that case, we want to put the files here inside the assets. Okay, because we still don't know if we are going to use them or not. Okay, so what else? Let me try to go faster. Well, then we have the views folder and the view wrappers folder. Okay, so basically, as you can guess, this is the views folder, is where we are going to define all the views in our app. So basically, inside a view, I'm not going to explain how a view works today, but next week we will start like explaining all the things you need to know from here. Okay, but here basically is where we define the view. Here's where we put all the components in our view. Okay, so you see this visor here on the right. Well, you can turn it off and on. So basically, the green bar on the top, this is not the view. The view is the white area. Okay, and the view bar, this is defined on the wrapper. Okay, but from here you see that we have one image, one text, and one text. It's like here we have one image, one text, and one text. Okay, so this is the content is a list. You see the brackets. So this is a list of JSON objects. We can add more JSON objects. For example, we can add a different image. Okay, we can change the size, things like that. I mean, we will talk about this next week. Okay, but the thing is that now, I mean, you see how easy it is to add images, or I mean, you can change positions inside a list of objects. You can swap positions, super easy. You can copy one and paste it here. Okay, it's that easy. Okay, I mean, you see a lot of text on the screen, but once you get used to it, I promise it's going to be much easier to create apps with this method than with a drag and drop app builder, you'll see. Okay, then we have the view wrappers folder. Here's where we define all the wrappers, all the sections of our app. Okay, by default, in our default project, we have the main wrapper, which is this one. It has an action bar, which is the top bar, and it also has a drawer, which is the side menu. Okay, but you can, I mean, you can remove it. So now we don't have it. We can customize this. We can put a title or use a menu. I mean, it's super easy. You see? You can change colors. You see? Or we can add a pager as well for adding tabs. You see? I mean, we will talk about this next week, okay? But I just wanted to remember that if you want to edit your wrappers, they are here in the view wrappers area. Then we have the menus. Well, let me add this drawer, the main menu. Okay, we have this menu. Okay, for example. So here in the drawer, we are telling which menu to use, and this menu is defined here in the menus folder. You see main menu and main menu. So you see that we have two options. So if you go back here to the main menu, this is the definition of our menu. This menu can be used in the drawer side menu, or it can be used in other parts of the app, in a floating menu, things like that. So here in the menus, this is only where we define basically the options of that menu. So we have this option one with the, maybe we can say about us. So if we change it here, we can add an icon like this one. So if we go back to our wrapper, you see that now it says, it shows the icon and the text. Okay. Okay, so well, we have the jobs folder. This is for creating jobs. It's too advanced for now, but basically those are like sequences of functions that we want to perform on the background. Okay, so imagine, I guess you are familiar with these sport apps or cycling apps like Strava or some others, or Google Fit. Okay, you can you can start tracking your GPS location and draw a route in the map. Okay, but the thing is that normally, you don't have the app open all the time. If you're running for 1 hour, you don't have the app open the whole hour, right? So you put your phone in your pocket and it will go into rest mode. So the app will go to the background. Okay, so the thing is that with jobs, you can make the app work in the background, so it keeps like tracking the location of the device. Okay, but that's too advanced for today. Then here on external, here's where we will put files for integrating third-party products like Firebase. Okay, so if we want, I'm not sure if you are familiar with Firebase. We will come to that point, okay, in some lessons. But if you want to integrate Firebase, it's super easy. For example, let me find some file. For example, I have this file that this is the one that you get from Firebase, the Google services.json. So if you want to put Firebase on Codoozer, you get this file from Firebase, and then you just drag and drop it here, and it will go directly to the external folder. So now we can use Firebase in this app. If you go to the app, you'll see that automatically it added the Firebase parameter. So now we are up and running for using Firebase in our app. We can now send push notification. Well, we have to activate. If we want to use messaging, we just click here, select an icon, and this is the way you integrate. But again, we will explain that in a future lesson, how to integrate or how to work with Firebase. Okay, then we have the dialogues. Here's where we define dialogues. Dialogues are like mini views, are views that appear on this pop-up dialog or pop-up window. Okay, so basically imagine that you have this text, for example, the hi text. You can have an event. All components have this onClick parameter, which is the event. What happens if someone clicks on this component? So here inside, you define all the functions you want to perform whenever someone clicks on this component. Okay, so in this case, we have this function that says pop-up, which is for opening a dialog. And then we have here the name of the dialog. Okay, the main dialog. Okay, and you see this button, this is a link button. So if you click here, you will go to the main dialog, so you can edit it. Okay, here you can change the title, the buttons on this dialog, and the content. Okay, and then finally you have here the certificates. So, well, by default, if you create, for starters, you shouldn't worry about this. Normally, if you want to create an app for Android, Codoozer will do everything for you. normally when you upload the app to Google Play, it must be signed with a digital certificate. Okay, but don't worry about that if you are new to this, because Codoozer has a default certificate, so we will sign your apps for you in case you don't upload any certificate. But if you want to use your certificate because you are bringing your app from you used to have someone developing your app for you, but I mean that it was a freelancer or something, and you don't want to hire him anymore because you want to create your app by your own with Codoozer. You can get the certificates of that app and upload them here to Codoozer. So we will sign the app with your own certificates. Okay. So, well, basically, I think that's all you need to learn for now. Okay, so today I just wanted to give you a quick overview so that you can understand the whole interface of Codoozer. Okay, because I know the first time you sign up it might be scary because it looks empty, and I mean normally you don't know where to start with. Okay, and then you click on start from scratch button, and then you see all these folders here, but you don't really understand what they mean. Okay, so today I just wanted to explain that. And after you know this, I hope you are getting the feeling that you are going to be able to work with Codoozer. Next lesson, next Wednesday, we will talk about how to start putting things on the screen, how to design, how to put contents, how to put images, how to put text, how to combine them, all that stuff. Okay, and then in the third lesson we will start talking about how to make interactions, or how to let the user of your app interact with those components. Okay, so when he writes something changes, things like that. Okay, and with these three first lessons, believe me, you will really have the feeling that you are going to be able to create amazing apps with Codoozer. Okay, with all the functions I said, I mean, with Codoozer, I didn't give you examples at the beginning, but with Codoozer, you can create like super real apps. Okay, you can create like marketplaces, or I mean, you can create Uber style apps, because I mean, in Codoozer, you can put maps on the screen. You can connect those maps to databases so that if someone changes in the database, you can make things move in the map. So you could do things like having cars on the map moving. I mean, you can create apps for delivery. You can create apps, I mean, tools. You can create apps for taking, I mean, making social apps, or like letting people meet with other people, and, you know, in order to play tennis, things like that. Okay, so I mean, the type of apps that you are going to be able to create with Codoozer, it's going to be super wide and super advanced. Okay, you can make social interactions. I mean, you'll see soon in some lessons. You'll start realizing that you can create super apps with Codoozer. Okay, now for Android, as I said at the beginning, soon for iOS as well, and then we will start working on React apps for websites, and also server scripts and things like that. Okay, so well, I guess that's all for today. I don't want to make this longer. Um, so as I said, next week I hope you join me with on the, in the next webinar, where we will talk about designing your interfaces. Okay, and well, and also for all the people, I want to say thank you to all the people watching, on all the people not live but also in the recording. Okay, so feel free, I mean, if you start creating apps with Codoozer and you have some questions, feel free to contact us. Let me write the email here in the chat. Mm. Okay, you can send me any question or any doubt you have, you can use this email, support@dojo.email. Okay, in case something is not working, you have any questions, please feel free to email us. Okay. Well, by the way, I was thinking that just forgot two buttons that I didn't explain. Okay, regarding to the whole interface, at the beginning they were disabled. So before ending the webinar, let me explain these two buttons. Okay, because they are important if you are going to start like playing around with Codoozer. Okay, so the first button is for importing. Well, now we don't really have a lot of add-ons, but in the future you will have some add-ons. So if you click here, now you only have this login template. Okay, this is a template that you can import to your app. Okay, so now some content has been added. You see that now you have some views here. Okay, so these are templates, so you don't need really to start from scratch. Okay, so I hope soon we will start having more templates here. Okay, not only for modules but also for full apps and things like that. Okay, but now we only have this one, and then this is also very important button, the export button. So as I said, you should always download the CDC file. If you start working and after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you've done a lot of progress, okay, I would recommend always to click on download. Okay, and this will download to your PC the CDC file. Okay, every 5 minutes you should always export, just in case something happens in your browser. Okay, or the power goes off in your computer, something like that. It's always good to have a copy of your file. Okay, this is for getting the CDC file, and then you have the export to APK file. Okay, so once you're finished, or you just want to try in a real device how it works or how your app looks like, then you can export to APK file and click on request, and after 1 minute or 2 minutes you will get a notification here with a QR code, so you can scan that code and download the app in your phone. Okay, sometimes there are errors, especially if you are starting developing with Codoozer. Okay, so if there's an error, let me try. I guess I might have some errors because I was just playing around. You see, sometimes if you see this error, you can click on these three dots and you will get information on where's your error. Okay, for example, yeah, the thing is that I uploaded a Firebase file, the world services, that it was not using my Android package name. This is an error. So you can fix it, and after fixing it, you can just try to generate the APK file again. Okay. Yeah, sometimes you see the error, but you don't see the 3 points. In that case, I would recommend you to download the CDC file and send us an email to support@dojo.email. Okay, so just let us know that it's not working, and we will try to find out where's the error. Okay, the thing is that we are creating a validator, so it detects all the types of errors, but some of them are still not detected by the validator. Okay, so now that's all. Okay, so yeah, I think that's all. So as I said, thank you for watching. Thank you for all the people who were watching. The recorded. Also, thank you. You should. In case you want to be informed about the future webinars, please subscribe to the channel. Okay, so that you will be notified. Okay, so yeah, that's all. So see you in the next one. Bye.